One. All right, everyone. Welcome back to Midnight Magic Musings to our channel. I am your host, Lord Cephas. I am joined, as always, by the Earl of Florida. Earl, how are you this evening?
I am sweating nearly to death. But this is Florida.
It is indeed Florida. It is the burden under which we live. But we have a special treat tonight. It's not just the Earl and myself. We have another special guest. We have someone who's very important to me, someone I love very much. He's my nephew. He's Kid Duba, and he's joining us for tonight's Midnight Magic Musings. Kid Duba, how are you this evening?
Great. How are you?
Man, I'm doing great. I'm so glad you're spending a few weeks with me. So hopefully he'll enjoy his time tonight, and maybe he'll make a couple appearances while he's still here for the summer. But that's a little bit about the inner workings of the Cephas family. But I know that's not what everybody tuned in to hear for. They want to hear our hard-hitting insight and content. And so that's what we're going to do. So this week we thought we'd touch on just a couple of properties that have had some significant movement in pop culture the last week or two. We took last week off with the holidays and such, but we're back on schedule now. And the first thing we want to talk about is Stranger Things, which just dropped its final 2 episodes last week. And yeah, exactly, Stranger Things. And I did get the opportunity to actually see the final 2 episodes yesterday evening. And I will simply say this. The directors make a point of saying that they wanted a show based on the Goonies. Well, they kind of moved on from the Goonies, which was a really classic 80s movie, and they've just gone straight to horror. I mean, they were just like, you know what? These kids have outgrown the Goonie stage. Let's just go right for the horror. And I won't go into a ton of spoilers, but I will say I did appreciate a lot of the throwbacks and homages that they showed in the last 2 episodes. There is one scene that I looked at and I'm like, oh man, that's Rambo, First Blood, Part 2. I won't spoil what it is, but when you see the scene, Earl, you're going to be like, yep, I know exactly what he's talking about. So a lot of really cool homages in that. I will say this that I thought was interesting, and that is the last 2 episodes were really long episodes. Episode number 8 was an hour and a half, I believe, and the finale episode was 2.5 hours, almost 2.5 full hours. So a lot of great content. I mean, and I do mean a lot of content in those episodes.
Well, I have a question for you, Lord Cephas. Now, I originally thought that this was the final season, but this isn't the final season. There's one more season after this, or
there is. Yes, that's correct. There's going to be another season. There's going to be a 5th season, but here's the kicker for all of us Stranger Things fans: it's not going to be coming out until 2024. So, unfortunately, we're kind of on the old HBO model of where we take a year and a half off before we come back with a new season. I do believe the fan base will be there. I do believe the fan base will remain rabid during that time. But that property can probably get away with it. I'm not sure certain other properties can. I know The Mandalorian does this, where they take almost a full year off, sometimes more, especially during COVID. But I think it's a finite number of properties that can withstand that long of a gap. That's just a personal opinion that I have.
I think the reason Mandalorian got away with it was because you had the Book of Boba, which a lot of Mandalorian fans went from here and slipped right into that slot. So it was not quite the Mandalorian, but there was a little bit of Mandalorian 2.5 in there.
Yeah, now, after it kind of transitioned over into Mando 2.5. You're right.
Now, well, I actually saw in an interview where the young woman who plays 11, Millie
Bobby Brown,
she was throwing some shots out at the directors, the writers, about maybe the last season making it more Game of Thrones-esque.
I saw that. And I saw the director's response to what she said.
Yeah,
which was,
without spoiling anything, I just wanted to throw that into your ballpark.
Sure. So I will step on this side of the spoilers just in case anyone's watching this who has not seen this season. And I agree with the directors on this. This is not Game of Thrones. I don't think you'd have the fan base for Stranger Things if they went that route. Now, under the final season, maybe you change that a little bit. You make it a little more carnage heavy of the main cast. But I don't think it would have the appeal that it has if you had taken out Mike or one of the other characters, or Steve, personal favorite of mine because he has great hair such as I don't know that would work, but I get her perspective. So one of the complaints, I'll say it that way, of the Marvel Cinematic Universe is oftentimes the movies don't have real consequences to them. For example, if someone dies, do we just snap our fingers, no pun intended, and bring them back? I would argue, exactly. I would argue that Infinity War and Endgame had stakes to it. So I think that addressed that issue a little bit. And for Stranger Things, I just think, and this year really pushed the envelope. I'm just going to tell you, the writing was superb. The acting I thought was really good, and they really, I think, challenged what Stranger Things is known as. They elevated the concepts, is what I'm trying to say. But I think if you take it too dark, too deep, and I was wondering in the last episode, maybe we're getting close to that line. But I think if you turn it to more of a Game of Thrones or Hunger Games style menagerie, I don't know that it works as well. I think you have a built-in fan base, and it's massive based on the watch numbers that Netflix reports. So I think it's almost one of those things. If it isn't broke, don't fix it.
Well, I do think that Stranger Things, though, because as you know, I watched the first 2 seasons and I made it about halfway through the third. I just stalled because life gets in the way.
Well, I can come up with 5 reasons. Yes, that might happen.
Yeah, you can look at season 1, and it was very much a Goonie-esque feel with a little bit of the horror, twist thrown into it.
Right.
Season 2, it was a little bit older, a little bit deeper in. I mean, we were introduced to Sean Austin's character.
I did like Sean Austin.
And so I mean, it took it a step further. And then in the first part of season 3 that I've seen, it seemed like between seasons it had to evolve again. These aren't just kids that are stuck at one age. As the characters are aging, so is the audience who is watching them. And so I do think there is a certain amount of evolution that's occurring between season 1, season 2, season 3. And I assume from all the reactions and the things I'm seeing and hearing that season 4 up the ante with everything, every season getting better and better and bigger and more interesting. Let's just put it that way. So would you agree that it's been an escalation every season?
I think they have. I think they've ratcheted up as the kids have aged up. I think the threat level, but I think the story arcs have ratcheted up, and that's really a great point you just brought up. You can see several of the kids have really sprouted up, and they're taller and they're older looking. No disrespect intended, but there is a danger, not a danger. There is a challenge that is put when you're casting children in a long running series. If you look at Young Sheldon, I reference that a lot. The kid that plays Young Sheldon, Ian Armitage, I think that's how his name is said, was perfect when that show started. A little pudgy in the face, just adorable. Now he's older. He's taller. He's thinner. His voice is deepening. You lose a little bit of that acuteness appeal. So you have to change the dynamic a little bit. You have to increase some of the drama or some of the writing to kind of to elevate as their ages elevate. And so, yeah. And, I do believe there comes a point where you age out of a role too, at a certain point. We'll maybe talk about that a little bit later with some of the Marvel stuff. But I think here's my thought. You go ahead and film season 5 as soon as you can. That way it's in the can. Yeah. Then you can work on all the CGI or whatever you want to do. You can spend 8, 10, 12 months on that, but get it in the can as quickly as you can. Because, man, now we're at the age where nothing grows on us, not even our hair anymore. We kind of got what we got. But
Bobby Millie Brown is almost 19 now.
I think so.
Finn Wolfhard is getting up there. Where I remember seeing him in season 1, he was this cute little kid, and now I see him running around in films. I think he's got facial hair a little bit coming in, and I'm like, no, that's the kid. And
Oh,
it was,
and that's the thing. Life progresses that way, and it's really hard and it's really interesting the way our minds block things out time wise when we're watching a TV series or a movie series. For example, Robert Downey Jr. You know, as he's getting into his upper 50s, he is Tony Stark to me now. Here, Kid Duba is playing Avengers before we jumped on the podcast tonight. And he had Iron Man was one of the characters he was playing with. You were playing with who else did you have on the screen? Miss Marvel. And there was Hulk. We'll talk about Miss Marvel as we go through.
Miss Marvel.
We will talk about Miss Kamala Khan before we're done. But, you know, I was thinking about it, watching him play. You know, he was just ripping it up and just awesome at it. I'm like, man, I can't even follow what you're doing because that's just beyond my abilities. But I'm thinking, you know, Robert Downey Jr. is Tony Stark. But at a certain point, Robert Downey Jr. doesn't want to be Tony Stark because you know what? As we get older, it's hard to keep our figures. Now, Kid Duba here will be skinny probably the rest of his life. The girls are all flocked to the hair. I'm just, you know, we're just what we are. We're dad bods, right? But you age, and there's nothing you can do to prevent that. And so Robert Downey Jr. is not going to do it forever. We see Dave Bautista doesn't want to be Drax the Destroyer forever. That's hard to stay in shape, whether as an actor or as a professional wrestler. Yep, it is dadgum difficult without, oh, how would I say it? Some help keeping that physique.
Well, once you reach a certain age, it starts to doesn't matter how many hours you put into the gym or how many calories or how many of this or something that, you know, age catches up to everybody inevitably.
It all goes south, you might say, literally and figuratively. It just all droops down.
Oh, we're doing a Taco Bell commercial south of the border. Oh wait, sorry.
No, you're fine. but these characters are characters we love, so you have two options: do you replace them, or do you just write them off into the sunset? And I think fans are struggling with that a little bit. You know, Captain America is no longer Captain America. It's Sam Wilson, who is Falcon / Captain America. I have no beef with that because the reality of it is Chris Evans is not going to be Captain America for the next 20 years. Physically, you can't do it. Now, he can be in the movies, maybe as old man Steve Rogers. If you're a fan of the comic books, you would understand what I'm referencing. But it's really hard to maintain that. And I think that's what the Stranger Things producers, and it's probably fortuitous that this is the last season because you can really go out on a high note. Now you can just let it fly.
Yep.
You have goodwill built up with the fans. Now finish it strong. Let those kids ride off into the sunset into other movie careers. You were talking about Finn, who had a really good turn in the most recent Ghostbusters movie, which I won't spoil it, but there's something at the end. You see somebody and like, but they're not alive. How are they in that movie? And if you're old like me from the 80s and you saw that, I hope that you had the same visceral reaction I did. But those kids are branching out, and it's time. It's time to cut it loose. 5 seasons, that's an amazing run for a Netflix show from a couple of boys from North Carolina. Mm-hmm. Netflix entrusted them with that, gave an opportunity, and they have repaid Netflix 1,000-fold. So I enjoyed it. I encourage you when you get the chance to get back on the wagon. Now, I want to ask Kid Duba here because you watched a little bit of season 1, didn't you? Did you finish season 1? You did. How far did you get?
Like episode 5.
Okay, he got a bit of episode 5. That's good. His sister got through half of episode 1 and was mortified and never came back. So Kid Duba has survived that, getting episode 5. Now, I know you haven't gone back to it, but was there anything in particular you liked about the Stranger Things that you saw?
I liked the story, but so much of it. It's hard to keep up with it.
Okay. And that's fair because they do a way of storytelling where you have all these pieces all over the place and then you bring them all together. Now, some people call that great storytelling. That's my point of view, but here's the thing. Some people, it's hard to track everything from all the different pieces that come together. So for some people, it's going to be a hit. Some it's going to be a miss. Some it'll be just kind of sort of in the middle. And to that point, I want to transition here from Stranger Things into talking a little bit about kind of hit or miss, depending on who you talk to. Let's jump over to Miss Marvel. Now, you have watched this series, So
I've
I'm gonna let you take the lead on this and walk me through your thoughts on the Miss Marvel series. I know Kid Duba has watched some of it as well. He has some things to say.
Okay, well, I think 3.5 episodes in, and I don't think the finale has aired yet. I don't believe it. That might be tomorrow, actually. Or I think it drops on Wednesdays. Either way, I, I'm I'm working my way through the series, and I went in with an open mind. Uh, I didn't. I knew what Kamala Khan was from the comic, so I knew what her powers were. I knew that they had altered her origin story somewhat in this compared to what it was in the comic. And so again, going in open minded, and one thing that it's very clear up front in the very beginning is that it's not aimed at the people who sat there and uh, watched Infinity Wars and Endgame after having watched the whole arc, the whole 25, 27, whatever the number of the movie is up now in the series, because we've gotten to the nitty gritty from the very beginning. This is an introduction to the next phase, the next superheroes, and doing so, it tries to stay very fresh, uh, family friendly. Uh, it makes sure it stay. It is very I'm watching it with my daughter, not Alexander, but the younger one actually, and she absolutely loves it. And I don't mind it. It's refreshing, kind of how it's a it's different than the Thor character who's getting ready to have his fourth solo outing, where we've been through the very beginning, how he was Thor, the Fresh Prince, not to take away from Bel Air, but and he went through his film and film and film to where he is now. This one, it it's fresh. It's fresh air. It's a new character, and they're trying to give her own her own story to tell, and is it so it interweaves all the other Marvel things, but it is very much this is a young woman who's still in school, not an adult yet, who's high school, living in a world that's shaped by superheroes and the snap, and it's also so she's having to go through all these things as a young woman, a girl who I'm just glad that I was a guy because I can look at my daughters and go, things are what they have to go through, put up with to be ready for school. I would have I would have cried. But
You still do
on
see
top of all on top of all that, part of Kamala Khan's identity is also her background, which is she's a young Muslim woman, and so that's part of her identity. And so far that I've watched the 3.5 episodes or so, they they're very careful to stay true to this is a young woman who's got high school and family and boys and now a superpower and trying to find out who is she amidst everything going on. And it's not earmarked for me. It's not earmarked for the Earl, but for the Earlings, they're interested in. They're watching it. They want to like can we put it on and watch the next episode. And I'm like, I can't say no because they're invested in it because it pertains to them. This particular series is reaching out to them where old man Logan, I can understand that. Tired, we've been through bumps and knocks, and we're a bit jaded and everything. They didn't really grasp old man Logan because their kids are younger. But old man Logan, I can understand because I've been through some rough times. I'm an adult, older adult, so I've experienced it, so I can identify. Whereas they're able to identify with this new Miss Marvel, Kamala Khan, and for them, when they're asking, let's watch it. I think Disney may actually have something here, and we haven't finished the series yet, but it's very when you're able to get younger kids to say, let's watch the next episode of this when they're invested. I think you might be doing something right there. So it's not for me, but even I'm intrigued enough to watch it, and I'm glad that my kids are. I'm still subjecting them to, my Marvel addiction. So,
Excellent use of that
but,
word, by the way. I like
but
that.
yeah. But what about you? What did you think of Kamala Khan?
I actually want to hand it off to Kid Duba here because
Well,
he's
that's
more.
what I was getting to. I was speaking to the guy.
Yeah, we don't want to hear from the old people anymore. We want to hear from the younger
Oh,
folks.
yeah.
So, Kid Duba, what's some of the things you liked about the Miss Marvel TV series?
Much what I like about it is new superheroes coming out, seeing how it's going, and having to deal with something.
I think that's a good point. The Earl and I were raised very religious. We try to keep religion and politics out of this show, but I will say I do like that they're portraying her religion with respect,
Yes.
treating it well. All religions should be treated respectfully, whether you agree with a belief or not. I give you respect to believe what you want. This is America. I'm glad they're doing that. I really like what you said there. It shows the interaction of a superhero because that's what she's going to be
Yep.
with her parents. It's a different feeling because what Kid Duba deals with parents and things is different than what you and I dealt with. And so him
Well,
getting to see that on screen,
yeah.
for him, that's representation for his age and where he's at. And so I'll ask both of you this question. Kid Duba, I'll ask you this first. Do you think that when Marvel's making a show, they have to make a show that appeals to everybody? Do you think that's what they should try to do, or just try and make a good show and just if people like it, they like it? What do you think they ought to do?
You try to make it for every type of artist, for how old who they are, what they're like.
Do you think Miss Marvel accomplishes that? It does that?
Yeah, I think so.
Cool. And I think it's interesting that you have an older adult who's like, oh, it may not be my thing, but I'll sit and watch it. Here's a teenager who's like, I like it because it speaks to me. And even some of the little Earls, the Earlettes, if you will, want to watch it and see it because it appeals to them. I feel like sometimes everybody wants a movie that, well, it should be made for targeted to me. Darn it. That's really not the way entertainment works. Now you can have that broad appeal, the summer blockbuster. I think Thor: Love and Thunder is going to be one of those kind of movies where they're trying to pull in a very large audience, much like Doctor Strange did in the Multiverse of Madness, or Spider-Man, which was, oh my gosh, just a runaway hit. But there have been a couple of Marvel movies that maybe didn't appeal to as many groups. And I'm wondering if maybe with the Phase 4, that's what we're in right now, right? Right? Marvel
Yep.
Phase 4. Because you're having to create characters, you're going to have some massive hits and maybe some, hey, that wasn't bad. There's nothing wrong with that. You don't have to hit $1 billion with every movie. I know that's the benchmark they've set, and that's what success does. It makes it be like, well, if you can't hit it the next time, you're struggling. Even though that's not true.
One of the things that's interesting with Kamala Khan, I think it was the end of the first episode or the beginning of the second episode. There's a little bit of spoiler here. So she's really wanting to go to this Comic Con, pretty much superhero con. It's for them, their Comic Con is about real superheroes.
Right.
So
what are you trying to say?
We'll tell you later.
I'll let you continue on. We need to talk about that offline.
So I mean, the interesting thing was you're seeing one side of the parents are like, well, we don't want you to go. And you're seeing the kid going, well, I want to go, trying to figure out how can I convince them? Do I stick around them? What do I do? And so my kids were identifying with the Kamala Khan and the younger group. And I was like, I completely understand where the parents are coming from. They're trying to give them the room to make the decisions, but it's still the adult responsibility to make sure they're okay. And so I was able to identify with the parents in these particular scenes and scenarios of, what would I do in that situation? And I'm like, I know exactly what that kid's going to do because, well, I've got a kid, I've got a few Earlings. And so it sucked me into those particular scenes where it involved the multi-generational aspect. So my kids are watching it going, yeah, they're going to stick that out the window, or they're going to wait till you get to sleep and sneak by, or do a Ferris Bueller day. And I'm like,
Sure.
is there something you want to tell me?
Yeah, how did they know that so early in
I'm like,
life?
I'm like, would you like to impart a little bit more of your methods? But me, I'm watching it and I see that the like one scene, the father is willing to dress up as Hulk and pretty much completely ridicule himself just to be part of this to take her. And obviously, no child's gonna want to go with a parent who's painted green, balding, glasses. That's not cool, right? Trust me, I know. I've been there. But either way,
I can't
but
pull
either
it
way,
off.
I'm like, I can identify with that father. You're wanting to meet them halfway, but you're trying to protect them still while still allowing them to have their individuality and identity. And it was interesting because you were saying how we can either be all inclusive and try to pull everybody in or be specific. Well, Miss Marvel manages to get to the kids because that's what Miss Marvel is. Kamala Khan's a younger character. However, the secondary characters I felt myself identifying with. So I want to see what happens next because I know exactly how I would respond with a kid who's doing this or that or wanting to do this or that, and I'm trying to be supportive or not supportive. And what if one of my kids were super powered? How would I respond to that? And so while it is a Kamala Khan's TV show, uh, I did find myself being sucked in a bit with the parents of the older generation going, I feel for you. I know exactly what you're going through.
And
So it did hit both versions, but I mean obviously it's earmarked for Kamala Khan, but I did at portions I may or may not have been leaning forward a little bit wanting to see what happened next. So it very neatly towed a line that it wasn't meant for me, but I did find myself watching it regardless. So
so that's an interesting perspective you bring, that you can balance it, and we try to be as direct and honest on the show as possible. We don't get into negative stuff because you know what, you can get that anywhere. You don't need to bring that here. But you have heard, well, maybe the numbers weren't as strong as maybe some of the other series. And I kind of feel like that's a factor of when did you drop the show? What else was going on that week? You had Kenobi, you had Stranger Things. Oh, and you dropped Miss Marvel in that time frame too. One of these things really not like the other. Two of
yep,
these had built-in fan bases. The third one, they have comic book series, even though they weren't as massive a seller as Marvel would have liked. But
yeah,
remember, this is the same studio that made a movie with a guy who was stolen from Earth by a
hmm
bunch of weirdos who wanted to eat him, a green woman who was the daughter of a mad titan who wasn't even his birth daughter. She was just taken after he slaughtered her village and her planet. There's a walking tree. There is a walking, talking raccoon, whatever a raccoon is, right? And you have a guy whose family was completely wiped out and seeking revenge. And somehow they merged all this together. Oh, by the way, there's a sister made of robotic parts, by the way. And this ridiculous premise of a movie that should have stayed in the comic book has been a pop culture phenomenon. So,
exactly.
you know what? If you're going to try different IPs, I'm going to give you the grace to at least try it and let's see if it's any good.
Well, the
Because
other thing,
because one thing I want to throw in before you say that, Dave Bautista, wrestler before he became a Hollywood actor,
yeah,
and this is a true story. Went to then the WWE, it was WWF when we were growing up, and wanted to promote the film. They wouldn't promote the film because they didn't think it would be a hit.
yeah,
Now, if you look back on it, you go, okay, that's probably what the consensus of people who are outside the cartoon, the comic book, the MCU bubble. But they found a way to make it work, and now it's a massive hit with number 3 coming out next year. So I'm just saying,
and a Christmas special.
I can't wait. Can't wait for that. And,
So
and a little Groot series coming out too.
yep.
But go ahead.
So I was gonna interrupt you. Episode 5 of the 6th episode, Miss Marvel with Kamala Khan, actually dropped yesterday. So the
Okay.
series has not even finished dropping. Episode 6 dropped July 13th. So I mean, as you were saying, you had Stranger Things drop, you had the Obi-Wan Kenobi series drop, you have the 4th of July, you have Maverick, you have
Umbrella Academy
Stranger-
dropped as well.
And so you have all these things going, and they just dropped their 5th episode yesterday. So I mean, they're not even finished dropping their episodes. So, you know, I'm like I said, I'm 3.5 episodes in. I'm gonna have to catch up with my Earlings later. But I am intrigued to see where it goes and how it's going to tie into the rest of it. And I'm intrigued enough that even if my little Earlings were like, now we're not going to do it. I'm 3.5 episodes in. I'm going to finish it now. I want to find out how it's going. Yeah, I've invested 3.5 hours in. I'll invest another hour and a half just to see where we go because it to me it would be worth investing another hour and a half. I mean, I can watch so I can watch a horrible movie that's probably a C movie that would make me cry and have nightmares, and I'll probably do that anyway. So why not watch this too, right?
That's probably true.
Yeah, I've done it before. I'll do it again.
I have faith and confidence in you with that you will. I just think that at a certain point, if you're really going to move to the next phase, you're going to need different characters.
Yeah.
We talked about the aging out. After Guardians 3, the word is that will be for most of the team their
Just
final
one.
movie. Right. You've heard certain actors say, "Hey, we're out after this." Now, what happens? Do they kill them, or do they just fly off into the sunset? Who knows? I know my heart can't take it if a certain character in Guardians suffers pain and eventual death, but I'll be okay.
Dumpster fire would be a good thing. I would cheer for that just because I know you would hate me every time I would see you. I'd be like,
As a man who cried during Endgame, I don't need my emotions support. Thank you very much, Earl. But you're going to have to introduce new characters, or you're going to have to recast. So, which do you want? Do you want the recast and be like, well, they're not the same as the other one? Are we going to have like from the early '80s, the Dukes of Hazzard show when Bo and Luke walked away and had Coy and Banks show up for like 20 or 21 episodes? In fact, they brought back Bo and Luke, and this is a true story. Before the season was over, normally you bring the main characters back in the last episode before the end of the season, last episode of the season. They didn't even do that. They brought it back 1 or 2 episodes before the season finale. That tells you how desperate the ratings have gotten. And so, all I would say is this: be careful what you wish for.
well,
it may not go the way that you want.
I think we're seeing the way they're going, and that is passing of the mantle. So they can retire the actual specific character, but keep the mantle of that. Like Captain America is no longer Steve Rogers. It's now the former Falcon, Anthony Mackie. And same thing with Hulk. I think we're seeing a little bit. It's a changing of the guard, and this is I think where Marvel is invested in. They're hoping that they can change the guard but keep the position. And they're what 3/4 of the way through it now. We're getting the Mighty Thor this week. We've got a new Captain America. We've got a new Black Widow. We've got a
She-Hulk drops next month.
She-Hulk, not with Tatiana. We've got a new Hawkeye. I mean, we've replaced everybody in Thor's the last Passion of the God. I guess technically Iron Man, and with Iron Man you have multiple ways you can go. One of which we're hearing about Shuri from Black Panther 2 is going to be Ironheart, I think. Is that what
I believe they had Ree Williams, who was Ironheart in the comic books. Really smart, young African American, young teenager, early.
Yeah, but I
I
think they're doing it Shuri for Black Panther 2 is what
I think they will. And that's a tough one, dude. Chadwick Boseman is Black Panther. But what if the Black Panther were to pass away? Now in real life he did, God rest his soul. But what in the comic book or in a movie context, what if they were to pass on? Because you know what? Superheroes can be killed.
I've told you natural causes. I've told you what I would do. I would cheat and I would what I would do. I'm sorry, I love Michael B. Jordan as an actor. He's a great actor. You know what? You can hide your face. But if I was Marvel, we watch Black Panther. Killmonger Did he die? We didn't see a dead body. We already knew that the nanosuit is designed to compress wounds. So when you pull the blade out, the nanosuit immediately compresses. Okay. We didn't see him dead. Okay. We did see, the after credit scene that they have, stasis chambers where we put a one-armed Bucky Barnes. Why can't we put Killmonger in there until we
The
can
White
fix him?
Wolf, yes, I'm familiar.
So I mean, I would be like, okay, Black Panther, the Black Panther died. Why don't we, Michael B. Jordan? It's cheating, I admit it, but you know what? I love Michael B. Jordan. I love his character of Eric Killmonger in Black Panther. It was very nuanced. I also liked his ad-libbed "Hi, Auntie," which was actually him ad-libbing it. That wasn't in the script.
That was
And
great. I'll give you that.
and I just think there's a lot that you could do with a redemption arc with him, and you don't even have to make him Black Panther per se, because you can deal with the anarchy of, okay, who's going to take the throne? Is it going to be Shuri? Is it going to be somebody else? Eric Killmonger would be like, I don't want it. I've already screwed it up. I've already messed it up. He could be in a redemption cycle that he could conceivably become Black Panther later on down the road. But I mean, I would totally cheat and go, Michael B. Jordan, I want you back. We need you.
You mark out for him. I know. I think the Dora Milaje may have something to say about him becoming Black Panther one day. I'm just throwing that out there. Which, by the way, is one of the absolute coolest ideas is an elite guard made up of nothing but women. What an interesting and awesome concept at the same time, because you know what? You do not want to run afoul of these ladies. It will not end well for you. Now, Kid Duba, you saw Black Panther. Who do you think, will they make it a new Black Panther, or will they just use the name and use the characters just the way they are? Do you have any ideas on that?
There has been said that it will be a Black Panther too. Both of those things will be a Black Panther. It will be joined. Like maybe one of the other teams, one of the
See, I'm pulling for M'Baku. Earl
Winston
knows M'Baku.
Winston Duke.
He's built like me. So I got to pull for people who are like me. All right. So that I'm pulling for him. I think it can be really good either way they go, because you have a really rabid fan base that really came out strong for that movie. Yeah. And again, that was one of those movies that could be a success, could be marginal, could be, people didn't like the title and misunderstood what that meant. And there were people online who were like, I will not go see that because of the title. I'm like, that's, oh, good gravy. Do a little research, people. But we're going to see, because that's going to be coming out. You have Wakanda Forever coming out in just a little bit. Unfortunately, the Marvels got pushed back again. Yikes. So it looks like Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantum Mania will actually slide into their spot going forward. But you have natural issues to take place. I mean, look at some of the older actors in the Marvel series. William Hurt, that passed away, unfortunately, here recently. Big fan of General Ross. The talk all along was, would he become the Red Hulk? Because General Thunderbolt Ross was the Red Hulk. Well, I never was really sure that they would put him in that role just because of age and whatnot. Well, now you're in a position where it's not, you can do with it what you want now. You're not tied necessarily to that. You could recast it if you wanted to. Well, I don't know if they would out of respect, because they seem very respectful of the actors and the actresses that come through there. But that's a situation where, well, we're either going to have to end a role or change a few things around than what the fan base normally understands. And we have this conversation, Kid Duba, every week. You don't have to do everything the comic book says in the movie. Yeah. You can do what you want. You own it. Mm-hmm. I know I'm a nerd, so I want them to do it the way well, that's the way it ought to be. But that doesn't mean I'm right. I have an opinion like everybody else. But I think that's another example of not aging out of a role, but having to replace or just go ahead and write out. There's nothing you can do. Life happens. And that's the kicker that Marvel's dealing with right now. You have actors aging out, some actors getting older. How many more Spider-Man is Tom Holland going to want to play before he goes, I want to go do something else? He's got some franchise, something that was really successful with Mark Wahlberg, the Uncharted movie, based on a video game. you want to hear our discussion about Uncharted, go ahead and go listen to our episode number 2, where we had a marathon episode with Broken Ansible. 3 hours of goodness talking about video games converted into movie franchises. I don't know that he's there long term. He enjoys it, but how many is he going to want to make before he says, I don't want to do that anymore.
We got to think about it. He's done 3 Spider-Man movies, and he's done Civil War and 2 Avenger films. So he's got 6 movies under his belt where he had significant roles as Peter Parker Spider-Man. So I mean, 6 movies is a lot of movies. And what Civil War dropped in what, 2016?
Sounds about right. Yeah.
Somewhere around there. So he's been this character now for 6 years, 7 years. If you talk about production in 2015, I'm assuming before the movie came out. So I mean, he's been this character in this role for a significant amount of time. And what comes next for him as the actor, and that as the character. Is he going to stay around? If you want to be?
Here's the thing I know. You got to strike when the iron is hot, right? And he's in a position where he's very popular. You got to take the roles while you can.
Yeah.
One last thing, and I guess we can move on. I didn't mean to drag this out for long, but Denai Guerrero, who plays in Black Panther and was also on The Walking Dead. She was Michonne on The Walking Dead. She left The Walking Dead not because she didn't love the show, but because you have all these other projects you want to do. And honestly, when is she going to be more in demand? And so you understand why actors and actresses make that choice, because hey, it's still show. You know what? It's not show friends or show fans, it's show business, and you have to make the best decision for yourself. All right. Well, we talked a little bit about Miss Marvel. Let's jump back to another thing that came out over the last
long time ago.
What's that?
A long time ago. In a
galaxy far, far away. No, we'll get to that here in just a minute. The Umbrella Academy dropped season 3. And as an Umbrella Academy fan, I can simply say this: the show continues to be even more bonkers than you think it can be. Season 3, episode 1. Watch the first 10 minutes of the episode, and you feel like you are on a hallucinogenic trip, because you're like, I can't believe what I'm seeing, but I can't look away from what I'm seeing at the same time. It was gold, the way they did it and understanding why that was played out on screen. But again, it's bonkers. It's a really good show, but it's one of those where as wrestling fans growing up, we won't tell kid Duba this, but wrestling is predetermined. It's not fake, because you know what? Getting slammed on a thin mat on plywood does not feel good on planks of wood. That's real. It hurts.
We know. Don't ask us how.
More than we want to admit on a live stream. But you understand that it's predetermined, and that's fine. You got to kind of suspend your disbelief, right? Well, this is a show. Don't just suspend it. Don't even bring it when you sit down to watch it. But yet, it works, and it works very well. I'm hoping for a season 4. We'll see, if the ratings justify. Netflix has gone pretty hard in just canceling things that are not performing to the level that they want. And so hopefully this one will obtain numbers. I haven't heard any watch hours on it. That's fine. That doesn't mean anything. Stranger Things is just a cultural phenomenon that you can just sing the praises of that all the way through. But again, good run this season. Hopefully there'll be more of it as we go.
I've actually watched, I think it was the first 5 episodes of the Umbrella Academy, season 1. And for me, like you said, it bounces quite a bit. And for me, I was like, I got to the part where there's a certain character on the moon, and we'll leave it there. I don't want to spoil anything.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And so for me, I had a lot of friends. I had friends who loved it. They binge watched the entire season, and I was like, you know what? I'm glad they did. I'm glad they liked it. It was definitely a unique. A talking monkey was one of the parts that got me at the very beginning, and the concept is very cool. And I had never no contact with the source material, so I have no idea about the source material. I had no idea what was going to come, and so I mean, I may have to go back, and reevaluate and watch the first season over again. because I do know that it has a very rabid fan base, but
Yes.
it's not Stranger Things, but it has enough of a fan base that you know what, it made it to season 3, and it is comic book oriented, obviously superheroes. So I mean, uh, somebody who has time on their hand, check it out. It's very interesting, and I plan on rechecking it out. But I do know that you want to just be wary of make sure you don't have little Earlings around
That is
of a
correct.
certain age because
That is correct.
there's some audience issues there. So that may have had something to do with my viewing time. But
And that's fair, and we'll talk about that on this show. We strive to be family friendly and kid friendly. And we'll tell you, hey, this is maybe not for the little Earling, as Earl talks about. And we'll be honest with that. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with saying, hey, this isn't for children. You know, we need to be adults about things. Yeah, that's not for it. Now, I say that, and I look over here at Kid Duba. He informed me earlier this afternoon he's seen some of the Umbrella Academy. So I know I wasn't responsible, but what did you think of what you saw?
I like this.
Because he's wackadoodle like we are. There you go. And there's a smile. So different generations taking a little bit different views of it, but like I said, it's wackadoodle. So I encourage you to check it out. Again, I would be very careful letting my kids watch it just willy nilly. Hey, parents, lock down that Netflix password. Trust me, it'll help you.
like Hip Monkey on Hulu. Crazy. I saw the first episode and I think I was by myself and I was completely surprised at what I saw. And I was kidding at the time. And it's like Umbrella Academy. It takes you in unexpected directions. You don't
Marvel doesn't do stuff like that. Well, they did, at least for Hitman. And by the way, I watched the series as well, and it is like, oh, I can't look away. I don't know what to do. I have to watch it, but I don't want to, but I have to, kind of thing. So that was an interesting as well.
it was either a fireworks display or a train wreck happening, creating a fireworks display. I'm not sure which, but I was like, I must watch this.
Regardless, we had to watch it. Exactly right. All right. So we want to switch gears, go back to another recent thing that dropped. And Earl, this is going to be your time to shine. And that is Kenobi. Now, there has been a lot of discussion amongst the fan base, dare I say the fandom menace, if you will, that some loved it, some hated it, some were just kind of like, hey, there were some really good parts, there were some parts we didn't like. A lot of different opinions out there. So we're just going to ask you, Earl, you've seen it.
Yep.
Walk us through what you've seen. Be honest, as a lifelong Star Wars fan, walk us through how you felt about that.
Okay, I'm gonna break it down real easy here.
Okay.
I watched it all.
All right.
Was this project necessary for Star Wars? Absolutely not. It was not necessary at all. Now, having said that, we watched the prequel trilogy in theaters, and I love Ian McGregor as Obi-Wan Kenobi. Outstanding. I came to grips with Hayden Christensen, his character, and understand
a lot about that. Yep.
So, as soon as the prequel series was over, I wanted more of Ian McGregor as Obi-Wan Kenobi. I wanted more, but obviously it wasn't going to happen at the time. So this project takes place between episode 3 and episode 4, almost exactly in the middle. So I think it's like 10 years later. So it is completely unnecessary from an external viewpoint. But as a fan, going into it, I knew that there was going to be some things that was going to be controversial because I already heard from other fans going no or yes.
Right.
And so I went in going, I'm a Star Wars fan. This is a Star Wars property. I'm going to watch this and I'm going to enjoy it. And if there's something that I don't like or disagree with, then it is what it is. Ian McGregor as Obi-Wan Kenobi, beautifully done. He is Obi-Wan Kenobi. And I'm going to try to stay as spoiler-free as possible. But one thing I'm going to talk about is, obviously we know at the end of episode 3, he went into seclusion. He went into to be a hobbit, so to speak. You know, hobo, Jedi hobo. You know, he went to a hideout, and he couldn't do anything to get any attention. So we catch him 10 years later, and he's not the Jedi Master General Obi-Wan Kenobi anymore. He's just this older, beaten down, broken down man who has a job, and his one job is keeping an eye on the child Luke Skywalker. That's it, nothing else. So we get to go on a little journey of Obi-Wan Kenobi finding his purpose again, so to speak. And we know that Hayden Christensen was brought back for Darth Vader, Anakin Skywalker. And I will mention a little spoiler: we do have a little bit of CGI prequel snippet cameos with Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin Skywalker that just explains a little bit of where they're at in their psyche between episode 3 and episode 4. And the CGI isn't bad; it's not great. You know it's CGI when you're watching it, but it's not horrible CGI. But they it made you feel like you were watching episode 2 again, because you're like, it's those characters. They were living those characters again. So I don't want to spoil anything of this, but it's very. Ian McGregor was great as Obi-Wan Kenobi. Yeah, you they brought back Jimmy Smith. You got to see Jimmy Smith again, who is Bella Organa, beautiful. Uh, I loved him then. I loved him during this. They brought back the actor who played the uncle, Owen, and Aunt Beru. Joel Egerton was the uncle, and I don't remember the woman's name who played the aunt. But it was nice seeing a lot of old faces, and it wasn't that. It was almost like seeing old friends again. You know that you didn't think you were going to see. It was like, oh man, I remember this. Oh man, I loved it. And so either way, the short version for Kenobi is absolutely not necessary, but it was a lot of fun. And there were a few things with Inquisitors that I know had a lot of people up in arms, especially the sister character, the third sister character. And I didn't watch a lot of the Ezra cartoon that introduced a lot of the Inquisitors.
Rebels.
Rebels, yes, thank you. Um, However, I can tell you that I watched it, and the character arc made sense of why this particular character acted the way she did, uh, the why she chose to do what she did, and I also heard certain comments about an injury she may or may not have taken later in the series. And if you think about uh, in Star Wars, laser bolts from a blaster fire and or lightsabers. What if they're lasers? Okay, when you get stabbed or shot by something like that, it's like it cauterizes the wound, so there's not a lot of bleeding. It's pretty much you were skewered, but you're not going to bleed out. You may go into shock. You may have all these other wonderful aspects that happen. So a lot of the injuries were pretty close to accurate, and you know what? I didn't watch this because I wanted to pick it apart. I watched it because I love Star Wars and I love these characters. And I think that if you go into it wanting to tear it apart, you can find wrong anything and tear it apart. If you go into something wanting to watch something new, or go into something wanting to watch something that you used to love, I think if you go into this, you will find you will find yourself pleasantly pleased. And from my viewpoint, it doesn't destroy anything in the canon, and they just it was a lot of fun. It was a nice visit with old friends, and it was enjoyable. And I can see myself watching it again, not in the not too distant future. It was fun.
So I'm going to turn to Kid Duba here now. Did you watch any maybe?
I have no.
Okay, we'll have to make you do that while you're down in the basement. So let me say this to Kid Duba, but also to people at home. And Earl, we've talked about this fun. I'm too old to hate watch something. I'm not going to watch something I don't like. Life's too short for me to waste time trying to watch stuff and hate it. Why? Life beats you down anyway. We all have challenges and struggles, and man, people suffer with depression and anxiety and all these things. The last thing I want to do is come home, find something to watch, and go, oh, I hate this. Let me watch it. I mean, it just doesn't make sense to me. That would be like making Kid Duba over here watch a nothing but BTS all day. The musical. See, look, he's just like the musical group. That would kill him. He just couldn't handle it. So he's probably not gonna do that. So
I can I can see the pain on his face. You must give me this information later so I can know to use it as a punishment for my Earlings.
well, the worst part is if it's not a punishment. That's when you lose in this scenario. But he's not gonna watch something he hates. He's not gonna waste his time. He's like, no, I'm watch something I like. And I think as adults, sometimes we miss that. We want to find the negative or the fault because remember, we are Americans. We love seeing a success story, but you know what we love more than that?
Do something crappy.
Seeing somebody flop. We love a new team to break into a sports, like we won a new NBA champion or one of this, and then when they fall like, see, they weren't as good as the other team.
Yeah.
It's human nature. It's how we're wired. But I think that's what you're talking about is if you go in not wanting to like it, well, maybe you shouldn't go in. Just turn on something else. Go watch YouTube. Come watch our show. We'll be nice. But yeah, for the most part, get a dog, whatever it takes. Just find ways to be happy in life, not trying to find ways to add to the stress that you have.
And you know what? I think a lot of these properties realize that. That's why Marvel, you have Thor 4 over here and you have Miss Marvel over here. You've got Hawkeye over here and you've got, you have these different, they're spread about. And
Right.
go to Star Trek. They have a resurgence going on what is it, Paramount, I believe.
Yeah.
And you've got Picard, and then you've got the Decks, Below Decks, which is a
Lower
cartoon
Decks.
series. Yeah, Lower Decks,
Mhm.
and it has Dennis Quaid starred on there. Jack Quaid is one of the voices on there.
That's correct.
And you also have then the Discovery, which some people love it, some people hate it.
Yep.
I watched 2 seasons of it, and it was very interesting, and I enjoyed parts of it, and other parts had me scratch my head. But you know what? I watched all 2 seasons of it. I know they're in the 4th season now. I'm way behind. Okay, I'm sorry. But then they came out with Strange New Worlds, a spinoff from Discovery season 2, and you get a Christopher Pike, and they're, you know, I think Star Trek says, okay, we're gonna make this, and we have this over here, we have this over here. People that are gonna want to watch, these things, they got Lower Deck. And for those who want a completely different take on Star Trek and a completely different era, has Discovery. And those who love the original series and want to get back to that 5-year mission and want to recognize a few of the characters that they loved back in the day from the original series, we got Strange New Worlds. And you know what? I think they're doing things right because I thoroughly enjoyed Strange World so far, and it's Star Trek, unfortunately, or Star Wars, unfortunately. They just come out. They don't have as much product as Star Trek or Marvel right now. So everything that comes through the pipeline, they get, and every focus is on it. And they try to nitpick it. And you know what? You can nitpick everything, but that's one of the things with Star Trek right now is you got a lot of content out there, and it's fun, and you don't have to watch something you don't want to watch.
And I think
Same
that's
thing with Marvel.
you said content.
Yes,
Look,
exactly.
these are the streaming wars, okay? We sat down last night and went through our bill to say, okay, how much are we really paying for streaming versus how much is terrestrial cable? Because you know what? Maybe we get a better deal on cable and we get a bundle with our internet than we do all this streaming stuff. This is not going away. And these streaming services have to provide content to keep people like us to subscribe. That's why people will subscribe to Netflix to watch Stranger Things and then cancel because they watch the series, they got what they wanted, their Umbrella Academy, or insert whatever show you want. A lot of these streaming services deal with that. Disney Plus deals with that. We'll see where things are in the next quarterly earnings report. I guess next month or the month after, just kind of see where their subscribership rates over the last couple of months because you have holidays and you have people, like you said, that binge watch stuff. If you do the binge model and release all your stuff at one time, people are going to consume it very, very quickly. Like we stretched out Stranger Things for us. We did it over a couple of weeks, doing the same things with Umbrella Academy. Because once I streamed, I'm like, well, shoot, I want some more of it. Now there ain't none.
It's
Now
gone.
now I'm disappointed. There ain't no more pizza or ice cream or whatever it is I like. So
Well, you know, a great Jedi Master once said, "Begun the streaming war has."
he did not say that.
You know, he could have.
He did not.
It's
say that.
possible.
Look,
You know,
he got blasted by the Emperor, okay, in their one-on-one battle. He got the smack laid down on him.
you know what? Kenobi was the #1 draft pick. Okay, if he had just went after Sidious after taking care of Anakin, you know, Sidious would never got there to save Anakin, and it would have been done. Yeah.
I mean, you're not wrong. We could have used the Star Wars, the Rise of Skywalker methodology, where we can cross the galaxy in about 10 minutes. So then he could have pulled it off.
But the part I never understood, though, I was like, okay, we know. Oh, I'm sorry, we're hijacking it. Vader's on Mustafar. We know Sidious is on Coruscant. Okay, we got 2 Jedi Masters. We got 1 Darth Lord. We know what we're doing. We're taking out the Darth Lord. It's 2-on-1. Is it fair? Who cares? You just wiped out the entire Jedi Temple. Let's take him out. Go spank your Padawan and be done.
Well, it's not the first time they did 2-on-1 anyway. Look at Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan when they fought Darth Maul.
And they did it fine until it got down to 1-on-1, and we saw how that happened.
It did. So I mean, it's not like the Jedi always play fair. We will not get me sidetracked on how I feel about some of the Jedi things and why the Sith may be right on a couple of things, but I digress. All right. So let's bring it back a little bit more current than our musings of past. This is what we do. We call it Midnight Magic Musings because we have a lot of conversations late at night. They ramble on like this, and we enjoy it. So we thought we'd share it with you all. But
Yep.
Kid Duba is here. So we have a few things we want to run through him as our special guest. One of the things he wanted to talk about this week, we put it in our preview video, is his favorite movie is Spider-Man Into the Spiderverse. It has an amazing soundtrack. The music is great. It's a good movie. But since you're here, kind of tell the people, why is Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse your favorite movie?
Every time it's Spider-Man, Earl, and animal,
All right. So he says there's a ton of spider people in it, and it can be anyone, animal, female, male, whatever. So since you brought that up, we are going to put him to the test here. Now we already Googled this before the show, so we're not going to mislead the people. We know how many spider people or Spider-Men appear in that movie. The total number is
Spider Bean.
Yeah. So the real question for Kid Duba is simply this: can you tell us how many of the spider people you remember? All right, let me get it set up here. We're going to give you 30 seconds or so to see how many of them you can get. On your mark, get set, go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep, there is the had the mech suit. Yes. There's one more. Can you name him? You can do it. You can do it. Think black and white. Think black and white.
Like old fashioned.
Like 1930s universe.
Like Lord Cephas.
Pretty much my age, yes. Remember which Spider-Man? He gone. Oh, he's back. Okay. We had like a 7.3 earthquake hit where the Earl is, but he's back. Everything is good. You remember the last one? All right. Well, 6 out of 7. You know what? I can't do the math. That's pretty darn good. I'd say that's a passing score. That would be Spider-Man de Noir, which is actually played by Nicolas Cage, which may not mean a lot to Kid Duba, but to us, it's cool because he's just an eccentric older actor who. Did I say he's eccentric? Is that the word you use, Earl? Oh, now we can't hear you because you're muted. So you're gonna have to unmute so we can hear you. But I would say definitely he's back now. Go ahead.
I think that would be the perfect word to use, eccentric.
Okay, we're
I mean,
always trying to be nice about these
well, I
kind of.
mean, when he plays a movie where he plays himself and plays a version of Liam Neeson from Taken, except for the pig, except for the daughter or something. He's eccentric. We love him. He's 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 yes, eccentric would be the best way to put it.
One episode, we're going to have to do our favorite Marvel movies that are never talked about as Marvel movies. When you talk about Ghost Rider, I'll leave it at that. Yes, we do. We need to
No, no,
talk.
no, no. When you're peeing fire, you lost me.
Did you really just rock me and just
Yes.
stop me when I was? Oh,
Yeah.
don't make me talk in the third person because I will.
But we also had Idris Elba, also in the second one where he peed fire, who we later find, we were introduced to as Heimdall. So we have a little bit of intermingling of the actors there. But
well, we could go into Fantastic Four, and the actor who played the Human Torch, who would end up being somebody else far more popular in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Doctor Strange.
Yes, good call, Earl. Way to go. Way to give us that hard-hitting information that we were waiting. I know. All right. So last thing specifically for Kid Duba, he got a chance to go to the movies this week, and he got to see Minions: The Rise of Gru. Do you want to tell the people what you thought of it?
It was a pretty great movie, and I was still watching it.
So he was talking to me about it last night. Who's your favorite Minion?
Kevin.
That's the B. So Kid Duba told me he had a great time with it. Go ahead, Earl.
Well, I was going to harken back to the second. You are aware they're coming out with the Spiderman into the Spiderverse Part 2?
Yes, so we're aware of that.
Yeah. Well, have you watched the trailer for it?
No, we have not. Oh, excuse me. He's just talking to you now.
You should definitely watch the trailer. It's a lot of fun. I think you'll definitely enjoy it. You can always invite Lord Cephas to view it. You can permit him to watch
I don't want to play your reindeer games anymore. Either one of you. I'm just gonna look off.
Are you Gary Sinise? I'm not. Are you sure Charlie's Theron? Where's that actually? I don't remember. Sorry, movie. Ben Affleck.
Aaron, I'd be much prettier than I am now. In my younger days, I wasn't pretty. Lord help us where I am today. All right, are y'all done commiserating? Am I allowed to participate now?
We will allow you.
You are most gracious, Earl. Thank you for your kindness. And Kid Duba, thank you for allowing me to re-participate in my show. All right. No, there is a number 2 coming out. We really should watch the trailer after we get off of here. All right, but you saw Gru. He told me it was a terrific movie. He shared that with you all. So I did a little numbers crunching before we came on here. It is currently, if you add up the domestic total and the international total, somewhere about almost $248 million at the box office worldwide. That's in what, less than 7 days, right?
Yep,
and of course, the holiday weekend helps, right? Because you had people off on Monday, so you kind of you skew the numbers a little bit. But if you just take Friday through Sunday, it's an incredible haul that they had, and it shows there is. How do I say this gently? There is a market for family movies of just some mindless fun. And I don't mean that to be insulting. It's just fun. You're allowed to have fun and laugh and be silly. It is what we came up with. How many?
Number 5.
Okay, so 3 Despicable Me's, 2 Minions. Okay, it doesn't look like the franchise is stopping anytime soon. So, I mean, they did have the one short, Yellow is the New Black. They did that a couple of years ago. It's like a 4-minute animated short, which is kind of funny. But I would suspect that the franchise is going to continue. It's incorporated into Universal Studios here in Florida. By the way, that is Universal Studios where they're building the Nintendo world. And yes, boys and girls, children of all ages, they're going to have a Mario Kart ride. And yep, I'm going. And I'll drag the Earl with me. Because honestly, I want to shoot a turtle shell at him. Right.
I want to throw a banana at you.
Well, that's just hurtful. I like bananas. I'd eat the banana.
Well, then you'll be glad to receive the banana I throw at you.
You're a giver, not a taker. I appreciate your attitude.
But you're welcome.
Hi. Okay. All right, Kid Duba, anything else you want to bring up? Anything on your mind you want to talk about while we're getting ready to wind down here? Just kind of free flow for a minute or two. All right, Kid Duba's tapping out. I understand we have reported for a while here. Earl, anything just kind of floating around in that nebulous mind of yours that you want to touch on, either comic book, television, movie, pop culture, anime, if you want to bring a little manga in, we'll talk that too if you want. Anything on your mind?
Not specifically. I am looking forward to the next season of The Mandalorian, but I'm also uh going to be catching the season finale of Star Trek: Strange New Worlds. The season finale just dropped, I believe. Uh, Everybody out there should definitely check out Stranger Things. I'm possibly going to have to be resubscribing to Netflix just so I can catch up because I don't want to get spoiled. I've been able to avoid season 3 spoilers, the latter half of season 3 so far, and season 4. I've been able to avoid all the spoilers until I run across the interview with the actress for Miss 11. So I'm trying to avoid all the other spoilers as much as I can.
Oh,
Uh, I think for me, the next thing I'll be focusing on will probably be Thor 4 and see how Natalie Portman hold up. I did get a spoiler for her of how she became the Mighty Thor, and I won't spoil it for everybody, but it's actually not a bad way of doing it. Of making her the Mighty Thor. So if as
is
long
it
as the
true she
spoiler,
found Molinar in a Cracker Jack box?
not exactly.
If you're not of a certain age, you won't get that. Don't worry. But if you're older like we are, it used to be cool back in the day.
Yeah, or checking the cereal boxes for the prize at the bottom of the.
You know what? They don't have cool price in cereal boxes anymore. I know. I shop for the little Cephases here at Chateau Cephas, and trust me, there are no cool prizes in it. I'd have them if they were there, like a secret Dakota ring or the Holy Grail. And there's an episode of Scrubs out there, Earl, where they find 2 secret Dakota rings in the same box of cereal. That was the
Yep.
Holy Grail, to find 2 toys in one box. And so I was never that fortunate, but what a glorious thing to see played out there. Sorry that I sidetracked your Thor love and thunder. Please continue.
But no, for me, it's just I need to hit those the final finales and the Thor 4 that's going to be dropping. Uh, you know, that's probably it. Is next week's podcast, I'm going to have a whole lot of information, and I will probably explode like a pinata.
So, are you going to have some reviews that we can drop into the show notes for next week? So we can.
Yes, I will actually be doing a Obi-Wan Kenobi spoiler-free review. Get my thoughts concentrated and put down on writ, so it's done in prose, so it's able to go out there. And I'll also be having it for Miss Marvel next week when the final episode drops. Maybe we might be able to hit a few short what was it, clips that we're working on getting done throughout the week to keep some content coming that'll make y'all laugh or giggle. That makes
Aren't
us
we
laugh
owed
and
an
giggle.
interview from a certain maniacal attempted world leader? Aren't we owed something?
Yes, we have an interview that'll be dropping hopefully some point in the next few days. That we have an interview with the Cobra Commander from the recent G.I. Joe movie that we went and saw. We're going to have him in Zoom with us, brought to you from Midnight Magic Music. You're
And
welcome.
you know what? That just shows the power of this show and how fast we're growing and the name brand that we're building. Look, we didn't get some ham and egger off the street, okay, in honor of Bobby the Brain Heenan or a humanoid. No, no, no. We went to the top of the Cobra food chain. We got the Cobra Commander himself. We are going to hear from him on an upcoming video. It'll be dropping hopefully the next day or two, or at the very latest this weekend. I'm glad you brought up Thor: Love and Thunder because I want to talk about that before we go. Thank you for taking me there.
You're welcome.
So I have different friends on different sides of the fence, and some are like very pro Marvel, some are anti Marvel, and some are just hoping it's a good movie. I usually fall somewhere in the middle. I just want it to be good. I just want to enjoy it because I've spent a lot of years of my life investing in these properties. I just want to be entertained and escape a little bit. I think, and this is just a personal opinion, I think, and I don't have any spoilers to prove this, that Thor: Love and Thunder is going to surprise some people how good it is. I think everything we've seen in the trailer is not everything that it really is. I think there's more to it. I think they're just showing the parts they want to show because they want to give us an idea of what they want us to think going in. And it's not exactly going to be that when you get there. And I hope I'm right. I hope that's the case. But we were going to see it this weekend. We had some family things that have come up. We will definitely see it and get an actual in-person review on an upcoming show as well. But
Well,
good.
if you think about it, remember all the trailers for Thor Ragnarok? You got to see the arena. You got his haircut. You saw Hulk, and you saw a little bit of Hela. You didn't see the storyline that happened on Asgard. You just saw some snippets from the very beginning on the hunt for Odin, and then on Sakaar, the gladiator planet. So there is a whole nother storyline that we didn't really get revealed to us in the first several trailers. We were just given you get his haircut, it looks kind of funny, and you get Hulk.
Yep.
We get Planet Hulk, and
He's a
so
go-worker.
that wasn't even his line. That was a line from a kid.
It's a great line. It fit in very well.
Yeah, I found that out. I was like, that's a great line.
Nice. I like that they get some freedom to ad lib.
Yep.
If only WWE would let their people ad lib. I'm sorry, that snuck out. That's a different show we have to host. That came out. But you're right. They kind of sent us in one direction with the trailer when it's up. And I actually prefer that. I don't want to see the whole story in the trailer. If I can do that, I don't need to see the movie.
Yeah.
Give me some stuff to reel me in. Give me a little bit of sizzle to save the steak.
Yeah.
Save that for like, oh wow, I never saw that. Man, think about all the movies we've seen where there was a twist, not for a twist's sake, but there was something you're like, oh, I never saw that coming. How much you enjoyed that versus how many trailers have you seen where they showed the best parts of the movie?
Terminator Genesis had one of the biggest twists that they showed in the trailer. John Connor was the Terminator, and I was like, why would you do that? Now, I'm not bashing on him because I'm one of the few people that actually I kind of enjoyed Terminator Genesis. Okay, I'm not going to lie.
I went to the movies and saw it. There's no shame in admitting that.
It actually
Broken
came
Anvil took me to the movies to see it, and so it's his fault. But yes, I saw it.
I turned it on the other day. I was like, man, I like this movie, and I shouldn't, but I do. Emilia Clarke is Sarah Connor. I've got no problem with her. She's fine. The guy who they got to play Reese is never going to be Michael Biehn. I'm sorry, Michael Biehn. Love him, but I love liked him as and it's just and then they mixed it up, and then they threw some Matt Smith in and a few other things, and I was like, you know what? And Jason Clarke obviously is John Connor. I love the casting for that.
Right.
But they spoiled one of the biggest parts. The biggest part that could have been oh my gosh, really? In the trailer, I'm like, why would you do that? But you know what? I still watched it. I turned it on the other day because I was like, it's one of my guilty pleasures. I love it.
Best example I can give you, Spider-Man No Way Home. Did you see Andrew Garfield or did you see Tobey Maguire in the trailer?
Nope.
And that was done on purpose. They let you scuttlebutt and think about it and talk about it and be like, we're almost 100% sure, but we're not 100% sure.
Yep.
Don't give it away. So, don't give it away for free. Make people go and pay to see what it is. So
Exactly.
Yeah, I agree with you. That I don't want too much in the trailer, but I'm looking forward to that coming out. Seeing how that is. I think it's going to be better than some people are thinking. Again, there's just so much negativity out there. You have to tune that stuff out and find the stuff you like and go enjoy it. Enjoy your escapism and live your life. Be happy.
And I have a lot of faith in Christian Bale as well, because he's very picky about what he chooses, and he did not want to do another comic book movie. Absolutely not. And they got him to come back to be in a big comic book movie as one of the main characters, a villain in this instance. And so, Christian Bale, I very good actor. I love watching this stuff, and I got to think if they were able to drag him back in and convince Chris Hemsworth to come back for another run.
Yep.
In Taki we trust, right?
Look, money is one thing, but you know what? A lot of these actors and actresses are like, nah, at a certain point, we have the money. We don't need to do this. So if they're still pushing to be in it, there's something to it.
Yeah.
So that again, that gives me hope that we're gonna have a really good movie, and then we're gonna get a little bit of a space time off. We get She-Hulk next month, a half-hour comedy. We'll see. Hey, I'm open to it. I don't know. I'm a big fan of the actress who will be playing She-Hulk. So from Orphan Black. So we'll see what comes of it. But hey, gonna go into it with open eyes and an open heart and say, hey, entertain me if you can. I'm open to it. Right?
I'll try and get Sting twice.
I don't think we're gonna tell everybody. Oh wait, you did just tell everybody on the internet. That's okay. Well, that's okay. All right. Well, I think that's all we have for this week's episode. I'm really fighting the urge to do a college football conference realignment video. I don't know how it fits in what we do here, but I really want to do one. So I might just give in to my dark impulses and actually record my feelings on USC and UCLA being accepted into the Big Ten. If you're not a sports fan, don't worry about it. It's fine. Just click on. But on behalf of the Earl of Florida, the Earlettes, or the Earlines who have been referenced, on behalf of my fur babies, the Henry the Blessed and Lola the Loved, who actually made that squeal a little bit earlier because one of the kids stepped on her because he wasn't looking where they were going. And on behalf of Kid Duba, thank you so much for joining us tonight. I hope we didn't scare you too bad. Maybe you'll come back for another episode and hang out with us. All right, that's what I like to hear. And you know what? He doesn't even have to pay rent. So yeah, he didn't even have to say yes if he didn't want to. All right, so on behalf of the Earl of Florida, Kid Duba, I am merely your host, Lord Cephas. We are glad to be back with you this week. Take care, everyone. You'll have some fresh content coming over the next day or two. We'll drop some other videos. We'll definitely have a box office review this weekend. We were out with holidays last weekend. And we appreciate all of you watching our videos. Give us a like, give us a subscribe. Go ahead and place comments in there. All of that stuff really helps us in the YouTube algorithm, helps us to continue to grow. We have noticed that we are growing. We are showing up in searches. Makes us very, very happy. So continue to do that. We really are humbled and appreciate your support. And with that, we are going to call it for the evening. Take care, everybody. Be good. Be kind to each other. And we will see everybody next time. Take care.